Do you know the 4 worst words in personal finance? Buy now, pay later. Sounds so good, so innocent, but trust me guys, that's actually one of the worst things you could be doing with your money. Buy now, pay later is nothing really new. It's been existing for a couple of years now, but honestly, the trend is just growing and more players are jumping on board because they see the opportunity. Especially young people, Gen Zs, they tend to be using it more than using their own debit or credit card to own things now, but pay for them in the future. And it just gives me goosebumps because that's one of the worst financial decisions you can make. Now, there are a lot of players out there. One of the biggest and most prominent one is from Sweden, which is Klarna, and is now the 6th most valuable fintech in the world. But there are also other players like PayPal from the US, Afterpay, and apparently even Apple Pay is getting into the mix, starting their own buy now, pay later program in the near future. So it's big business, and that's why a company really pushing their agenda and making it seem very innocent and making it look like it's the most normal thing. When you go on TikTok, there's even hashtags around how much Klarna debt people have, and they're kind of outbidding each other, showing how much debt they have collected with Klarna and other Afterpay services. And it's just mind-boggling, and I don't get it because it's so bad and you're going to be paying significantly more in the future. But of course, when you go onto one of their websites like Klarna, for example, it really is made seem so seamless and so innocent, like they're just basically helping you to finance an easier way to buy your product. Basically, it's like the most normal thing. Pay later with Klarna, up to 30 days, interest-free, which sounds great, right? And you can delay it into the future into 3 equal installments. So yeah, it sounds really nice. And now they're actually getting into the video selling game as well. So they have their own app which you can download, and they lure you in with discounts, and the brands, of course, with certain benefits as well. So why Klarna? You can spread the payment into 3 installments into the future. So maybe you didn't get your salary yet. You can stretch it until the end of the month or 30 days from now. No interest, sounds great. No fees, amazing. But then they also offer longer term financing options, which, sounds interesting, but that's actually where the real danger lies. Because once you go into the terms and conditions, which is a little bit hidden away, you have to kind of dig deep to find them. It's not really listed anywhere in the beginning, but eventually, and again, depends on the country, but let's say in the UK, for example, with Klarna, the standard rate is 0.074% per day, which sounds like nothing, right? But if you think about it, on an annualized basis, this comes to 18.9%. I mean, that's mind-boggling. That's crazy. That's such a premium you'll be paying by using them to finance it. Actually, using a bank for a loan would be significantly cheaper. On top of this, given the markets we're in, with the interest rates rising, I can only see this number going up even more in the future. So it's going to be absolutely mind-boggling that people actually use that service and think it's a good thing. Now, obviously, you can pay back within 30 days, but the danger here is that people think things are cheaper. Because let's say you buy something for $900, pounds, euros, that might be a larger amount for younger people, right? Now, in 3 equal payments, basically that's 300 per 10 days. And that seems somewhat more manageable. There's no interest on it. Eventually I'm going to get salary. So it sounds reasonable and people go ahead and they make the purchase. Problem though is they quickly lose sight of their finances. So they think, okay, I only spent 300, so I can buy another item and another item and another item. And so they consistently building up more and more little smaller amounts. And at the end of the 30 days, they might actually really struggle to repay that amount. And you might think, well, what's the big deal? Then they might just pay a small little interest. But the problem is actually that Klarna technically after the 30 days, if you don't repay, they can actually start involving debt collecting services to collect the money from you. Plus, in many countries, including the UK, as you can see over here, since June this year, they will start sharing your credit history and performance, or lack thereof, with CRAs, credit rating agencies. So this can actually impact your future ability to get credit or potentially loans and mortgages. So if you don't repay your Zara purchase, which might seem like a small thing, in the grand scheme of things, this can actually really hurt your credit history and therefore your ability later on down the line, once you want to build a house one day, to not get a mortgage because of that. And a lot of young people are not aware of this, and this is really, really bad. And that's why I think it's so important that we raise awareness. I don't think these companies are inherently evil. I mean, they are legitimate businesses that are trying to turn a profit. And obviously, it's a business model that works and is accepted publicly. And a lot of people actually love it because, it helps them to afford things that maybe otherwise they couldn't. But once again, here exactly lies the danger, because a lot of the young people, they have no financial discipline or financial understanding of what an impact it has. So let me show you what an impact that interest has on your initial purchase price. So let's say, imagine you buy something for $1,000. Let's take a loan term of 24 months, which is 2 years, but I do believe they offer up to 3 years, 36 months. But in this example, let's stay with 24 months. The interest rates we've seen before, 18%, which potentially might be even higher in the future, but that's annualized, obviously. With this, basically what it comes to, you're going to be paying every single month $50, which, seems reasonable. But then again, in total, you're going to be paying almost $1,200. So you basically paid 20% premium on your initial purchase. And that's just absolutely shocking. You think you got a good deal, but you're gonna pay 20% premium. In the investing world, getting a guaranteed 20% in 2 years is really amazing. And for most people, not even realistic. In this case, you're basically throwing 20% out the window. And that's how you can see how these businesses are growing so fast and really becoming some of the most valuable fintech companies in the world. It's super lucrative. And a lot of shops, e-commerce and online retailers are working with Klarna and others because actually they're gonna be paying less credit card transactions to them. To Visa, MasterCard and others, they pay around 2 to 3% on each transaction. So to them, they're actually paying less. Plus, a study found that people using Klarna and other buy now, pay later services tend to spend on average 45% more on the average card order size than without it. Because again, you see a smaller amount, right? If you dice it into 3 payments or stretch it out over 2 years, the amount that you pay right now is significantly less. So then it's easier to do another add-on or actually buy a more expensive item in the first place that you could normally not afford. People get sucked into this once you start having debt, and let's be honest, it is debt because you owe it to the company, and then you start even getting into interest-paying territory. That's gonna be a vicious cycle to get out of because you're gonna be paying so much every single month. And people think these services are helping them. Guess what? They're not really changing your bank account. The bank account you have is the same with or without the service. On the contrary, as we just saw, it's only gonna get less over time because they're gonna start charging you interest. For me, this buy now, pay later is basically the equivalent of drinking every day, smoking, eating junk food and not going to a gym. Guess what? It's fun for the moment while you're young. You can do this a couple of years, no problem. But further down the line, you're gonna pay the price for it. Once you're 40, 50, you're gonna feel the consequences, the health issues. And the same is true for your financial health. Because in the moment, it really doesn't make a difference, right? You can buy so many things that you could normally not afford and it feels great. You're keeping up with the Joneses. But guess what? Further down the road, you're gonna have issues taking loans, getting a mortgage. You won't have money to invest because you're gonna have to repay your previous purchases, which most likely you don't even enjoy anymore. Imagine you pay off a phone that you bought 3 years ago. After 3 years, you don't get pleasure out of it. Actually, you want to have a new phone by then and you're still going to be paying off your old phone. So my hope is that more people get the financial literacy and understanding to realize that they're not doing themselves a favor by using such services. As comfortable and seamless as they are, and guess what? They spend millions of dollars to make it seamless and nice user experience and look like the good guys. But it behooves on every single one of us to make the best decision for our own financial future. So the takeaway here is pretty straightforward. Don't buy things you can't afford. Now I get it, if it's for an emergency treatment, some medical issue, definitely such services, or microloans to get cash to pay a bill if something God forbid happens, definitely it makes sense, right? I get it. But to buy pleasure items, go on holidays that you can't afford is just absurd. And I really hope people start realizing this and stop doing this. So I leave you with this: invest in things that you can't afford. At the beginning of every month, as soon as you get your paycheck, start putting money aside and allocate it. Some of it goes into your cash reserves, which you can use to make some purchases as you see fit. And another part goes straight into your investments. And that can obviously be many things like stocks, ETFs, crypto, or potentially towards a down payment of buying a house, for which you need a mortgage, which you're gonna have a hard time if you use services like that. So you heard me say invest in things you can't afford. Don't buy things you can't afford. There's a huge difference. When we invest, we spend money on things that appreciate in value over time and you're gonna be better off. When you buy things, usually these are pleasure items and they lose value over time. Like there's not gonna be any appreciation of the value of your phone in a few years or on your latest fashion items. So let me know if you've ever used any of such services. And if you do, then please let me know in the comments why you use them and what you like about them. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Stay healthy, get wealthy, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.